reason it's not, I will just post it. So, okay, so we'll start. That was interesting, wasn't it? The joys of technology. Okay, so welcome everybody. I'm Catherine Jordan, and this is a live call on the topic of community resilience in challenging times. So I had this idea to reach out to all these amazing people that I know and have the privilege to call friends, who are doing wonderful work in the community and doing different things at this time. And I wanted to just see what people were up to and how we're responding personally in this time, and what we're seeing in our work, and what we're feeling drawn to in this time. So I'm just going to introduce everybody who is on the screen to start with. So first I've got Amy AMORA, is that right? AMORA. Yeah. So Amy is a founder of the Love Thyself Rebels Academy, very good name. And she is a mindset, language and story work coach. Yes? Great.
That's true.
That's you. And then we have Julia Hope Brightwell. I'm really not good at reading things out, by the way, just so you might pick that up. This is not my forte. She is the co-founder, director and teacher of Dance Connection, nature lover, artist and lover of all things expression. So welcome, Julia. And Nick, I feel like I haven't probably written yours down, actually. I've got coach and facilitator working with different organizations and individuals, which is a bit vague. I don't know if there's something a bit more you could say about that at some point, and also that you're a tantra practitioner. So welcome, Nick, as well. So I just thought I would just open the dialogue with reading a quick quote that I took from a wonderful woman called Dr. Justine Huxley, who is the director of St. Ethelburgers in London, which they're a centre for peace and reconciliation. And they've been doing a lot of work around deep adaptation, and looking at the gifts of this time is really the theme, I would say. So I just wanted to read something very briefly from a blog that she posted. At the present time, we all have too few spaces for dialogues capable of holding the twin truths of climate breakdown and societal division. There are new skills needed to hold us in relationship as we move beyond denial and paralysis to face the challenging reality around us. Skills that enable us to consciously reach out to those whose worldviews may be anathema to us. COVID-19 has shown us that we are capable of more, that we care, and we have not forgotten how to prioritize the vulnerable. Perhaps from somewhere in the depths of our hearts, in the farthermost reaches of our diversity, and with the weathered wisdom of a year in lockdown, we can summon a new kind of courage, a spirit of resilience that can enable us to pull through rather than fracture further in the face of hardship. A spirit that can help us dig through the rubble with our bare hands and forge a radical new unity in the wreckage. And that kind of, for me, captures something that I feel I'm really connecting with in this, is that this, to me, doesn't feel like we're a victim of something that's happening. This feels like an opportunity, feels like a moment of opportunity. And that's definitely what I've been connecting with, and I really appreciate her work and her blogs around this topic of deep adaptation and resilience. So, and something she said at the beginning of that, which is what inspired me to do this, is that there's not really enough spaces for these conversations and these dialogues of actually accepting what is happening, not ignoring it. You know, let's look at it. Let's look at it together as a community, and look at what we're feeling a resonance to and response to in terms of resilience. Anything to say at this point before I go on to any further questions?
Yeah, I'd love to add. For me, what's happening right now feels I could absolutely collapse into it, and into despair and into uncertainty. And in moments, I give myself permission to do that in a way that does feel held. I can create a container to go, okay, I don't know what the hell is going on. I don't know what's happening, and just really let myself sink into that not knowing, and give it space, and give that shadow side space. The alternative for me in the past might have been to be really, really positive and really, really focusing on just the good, and actually just bypassing a lot of what's really coming up. And yeah, giving myself permission and space to be in the unknown, it really helps me to move through it and just feel the emotion, feel the pain of not only my stuff when it's there, and also other people's, because I am 100% in a very blessed position and place. And collectively, on one level, it feels really challenging for sure, and on another level, there is an excitement in a way, because it feels like a huge purge. It feels that this is a something that can possibly wake up a lot of people into connecting more to what they most want, what they most value in their life. And yeah, a big purge that's happening. That's how I'm relating to this whole experience, and trying my best to stay in alignment, yeah, and stay with my self-care and care for others.
Yeah, I mean, can I add that I also feel as an opportunity for us to really slow down. The speed of technology and the capacity of humans to, use the Earth's resources and not be very mindful of the interconnectedness of all life forms. Many people aren't at all aware in a way of how things affect the knock-on effect. They don't look at, like tribes look at generation after generation ahead when they make decisions. We've lost that capacity to think about the longevity of things. And I actually feel quite happy about the slowing down and the stillness, and I hope that people will consider what's the most value in their life. And it might be as simple as just being in nature and being in community, and not speeding around in aeroplanes everywhere, trying to have fulfillment from buying and things like that. So I actually really feel it's an opportunity, and I'm actually very, I can't see anything else that would have happened that would have done that other than war.
Absolutely. We had to be forced in a way, didn't we? Sorry to cut over you.
No, but war would have worked, but war destroys, whereas this way we still got everything we've got, and we just paused. So I'm actually quite grateful for that.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's something I'm really experiencing very personally, is this: I'm not running around all the time for the first time in my life. And now I notice how I'm really tuning into my internal rhythm for the first time in a way I just wasn't able to. I was just running on the surface of myself all the time, as I'm sure we all were, and noticing how that relates to trauma, like we're sort of running in some form of trauma, and just that opportunity to slow down and to not run everywhere all the time, and to really pay attention to my internal rhythm and what it really needs, which I agree, I don't think would have happened any other way. And I think that's such a gift in this experience. Yeah, I totally agree.
I agree with what everyone's just said. I'm lucky that I'm in a relatively good place right now. But I do acknowledge that it's really challenging, it's really difficult. And I agree with what people are saying about this being almost like an existential moment where we're really thinking about who we are and how we live and how things connect. And it's really helping to build community. And I've really noticed that in all sorts of different ways over the last year. Community is stronger now than I've ever experienced it. Having said that, part of my calling is as a coach, and I think a lot of people aren't in that place, and a lot of people are either in denial or desperate to go back to how things used to be, or really struggling. And I think that there's really, the opportunity really is to be part of supporting and allowing people space to really just expand and explore, because a lot of people aren't doing that. A lot of people are burying their heads in the sand, or just battening down the hatches and you know, just trying to busy themselves without really using this as an opportunity to think. And I think there's a great opportunity to think and reflect and connect, which I think, so for myself anyway, as a coach, I think I see it as part of my calling to really support people through that.
So sorry for looking down on my phone. I had a message from someone, Juliana, who's messaged to say, hi, can't see live video from for you online events now. Doesn't make sense. Would love to watch, but it doesn't appear to be live. So we're not live. So
we are live.
Oh, we are. Okay.
Get them to click on discussion.
Okay.
Click discussion and then scroll, and then it is saying you're live now. Catherine Jordan is live now. I've literally got it, and Jackie Dempsey is watching.
Okay, great. Okay, brilliant.
Hi,
so you can say hi, Jackie. Yeah, and hi, Juliana. If you can see us or hear us, I'm not sure if it doesn't say that you can't hear us, so I'm not sure if she can hear us but not see us. I just wanted to say okay, thank you. Oh, so you can see. Are you able to see any comments, Amy?
Yeah, so Jackie did write a comment. She said hi, and then I've written hi to those watching. Feel free to ask any questions here, so I can see it now.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so it's great that we can see if people comment. So yeah, if anyone is watching and listening, please do send in your comments and questions. I'd love it to be a wider conversation as much as we can create in this situation. I mean, part of what I'm interested in is just creating momentum for this conversation, and what you've all said so far has been really exciting to me, so so it's great. So shall I start with a question?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's pose a question to the group and see. So how are you connecting to and living resilience personally in your lives right now? Anyone can go.
Shall I go first?
Yeah.
Well, for me, the resilience comes a lot from physical connection with embodiment for myself. So that really looking at when my energy flags because I'm being blocked from doing things I would normally do or socializing. I'm using a lot of, for myself, movement because I do, as you know, dance connection. So I'm dancing and shaking. I'm finding very releasing. I'm making sure that I'm out in nature a lot, and eating really, really carefully as well. So I feel like physically I'm nourishing myself. And when I want connection, I am using Zoom, FaceTime, different aspects to connect with people. Because for me, I live in quite a remote place. So you've talked about community resilience. Well, it depends where you live. If you live in a remote place, you don't actually have that in a physical way. You have it remotely. But I feel like as long as you listen to the different emotional and physical impulses and give yourself what you need, you can keep being resilient and adapting. And it is about accepting, as Amy said, all the emotions that come and go, but not to focus mentally on things that will keep you trapped in a sense of stuckness or fear.
For me, that's great. That resonates with me. I'm often inspired by something which was created by Stephen Covey, who had this idea that there are these concentric circles, and one of them is things which are not within our control. They're things that concern and worry us, and it's really easy in the days of 24/7 news to kind of just be really glued to it and think, well, wow, all of this is out of my control. And I've really tried to avoid that as much as possible. The last time I was glued to the news is when the Capitol was being stormed last week in Washington. But generally speaking, I try to let go of things which are not within my control and see, well, what can I influence and how can I do things? And for me, it's about a number of different things. One is about connection, and I'm part of various different communities which, online, which are amazingly connecting. Secondly, about being within your body, you know, really connecting with your body. I work a lot online. I'm a trainer, facilitator, coach. And a couple of months ago, I realized I was just sitting down all the time, and it was really bad. So I bought myself a standing desk, 4 bits of wood locked together. And here I am standing up, which means I can move and I'm not static. And it's given me a huge amount of energy, and that's brilliant. One of the best things I did over the last year was start yoga. One of my friends, Adina, give her if anyone wants to know Adina's details, I'll let you know, because she does daily yoga classes over Zoom, and I've been doing yoga every day, almost every day for the last year, which is amazing because I've never done yoga before, and it's been transformative, and that's been amazing. And the other thing I would say is connecting with nature. So I'm lucky, I live in London, but I live very close to a wood. In fact, I was there this afternoon walking around the woods, and just connecting with nature was brilliant, and feeding the squirrels that come literally 50 centimeters or a meter or so ahead of me, in front of the window, and come and eat nuts. And if there aren't any nuts there, they'll jump up and look at me and ask for some. So that's what I've been doing. So it's about, you know, letting go of what I'm not in control of, and looking at what I can control. It's about community. It's about yoga and movement and nature. And the final thing I'm going to say is about learning. And I've really taken this opportunity to learn new stuff, learn things, because I think that's you know, keeping your brain moving and active, for me anyway, is pretty important, but not in a way that's putting myself under any pressure, but really for enjoyment, for my own enjoyment and pleasure. So those are things I've been doing.
Nice. I thirdly agree with both of you. I want to say second that, but I second both of your sharings there. And the first thing that comes to my mind is self-care, is my self-care practice. Each morning I have aside 2 hours for self-care. Sometimes it's a bit less, sometimes it's even more. And that involves movement, nature, walking. I've really got into walking. Yesterday, I think I walked about 10K actually on my birthday. We did 5 in the morning and 5 in the evening, which was amazing. I've written a few notes here. Yeah, movement. And also, I'm very in tune with my emotions. So, and really over the years, I've given myself real permission to feel them. So yesterday, me and my partner were walking, and it was sunset, so there was not many people around, and I just started singing. I started singing ABBA, just actually because I was feeling so much from actually momentarily tuning into the news and then feeling a lot. And I just started singing. I think I was singing Mamma Mia. And when I got to the chorus, and just before, I could feel this emotion coming up, and I said to my partner, okay, I think I might cry if I sing anymore. And he was like, go for it. And I just burst into song, into the Mamma Mia bit, and all this emotion just came up, and I just cried and cried and cried. And then after those tears, I knew that I trust the release process. And I think that's something that a lot of people are afraid of. And I certainly was afraid of that. It's like, if I start feeling my emotions, am I ever going to stop? Am I going to go insane? Am I going to lose my mind? And for anyone that feels emotion there and maybe goes, no, go, get down, push it back down, I would really gently encourage to allow those feelings to come, because in my experience, on the other side of them is, it's a release, is more space for clarity, more space for self-love, for understanding. Yeah, so that would be my piece, is being with everything that is, and knowing when to rest, when you need to rest. Like, give yourself a break mentally, physically. Yeah, and I think all of the things that you've both been sharing there, that we've all been sharing, are all the ways of resting. It's not just putting on a Netflix series or something. Like, being in nature is such a beautiful way to rest. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, that's great. I mean, just to add on to what you've just said about allowing things to come, and I really agree, as a practicing psychotherapist. That's kind of what I do and support people with. And I also know from my own experience that I've needed some holding to be able to do that. I think if you're really not familiar with allowing emotions to rise, or it can feel really overwhelming, I think. And I know I needed holding and support to be able to take that risk and sort of to cross that boundary of like allowing what I was feeling to arise. So so yeah, I'm guessing for some people that may be the case, and I think in these times there's so much going on and so much change at such a rapid pace, you know, one day to the next, what's happening with lockdown, and it must be stirring things for people. It must be stirring things for people. So I guess I would add to that, yeah, I really like the invitation to feel what we're feeling, and probably I would add to that to reach out to support systems in that, yeah, to be with people that you feel safe with and that you feel comfortable with, to cry if you need to cry, or to, you know, to let out whatever you're feeling. It's not necessarily crying. Sometimes it's jumping around like a lunatic, you know, just like going just going, you know, I've had lots of that. So but yeah,
I want to second that as well, because I definitely feel safe with my partner to be able to do that, and and it's taken me few years to feel really safe to be able to do that on my own with myself. So thanks for adding that piece. That is important.
So yeah, I'll just add into it my routine, which for me it feels very resonant with what the three of you have already said. Oh, sorry, I've just got a message from Zoom telling me something. I don't think I need to worry about that. So I started swimming in the sea radically in the middle of, or the end of autumn. So I live right on the beach in Devon, which I feel very, very privileged to live literally right on the beach. I walk out of my house, I'm on the beach within 2 minutes. And I've been thinking about swimming in the sea for 2.5 years. I've been here and I'm like, yeah, but it's really cold. And, you know, I haven't quite made that leap. But they shut the pools again. And there's a swimming pool right near me that I was going to. So one thing I've started doing is swimming in the sea every day. So I did it one day and I was hooked immediately. It's like cold water immersion. Once you get into it, it's really amazing. And you know, I've been going through a bereavement last year, a very close bereavement, as well as dealing with lockdown. So I had real challenges, I think, to my mental capacity. And doing that has really been remarkable. I'm so hooked into doing it on a daily basis, because I just feel amazing. It's really good for your endorphins and your immune system. I just feel awesome all day. So that's been a really big resource for me. And just supporting, just creating my life around keeping that going, which kind of feeds into what you said, Amy, about having the first 2 hours of your day for self-care. And I'm very similar. So for me, I don't organize any work in the morning. The morning is my time to look after myself as a foundation, in all the ways that's needed. So that's sea swimming, and then taking time to warm up. And I warm my kidneys as I'm warming up. So I really love my kidneys, which are a part that can struggle with cold water immersion. I have a bath, I put lovely music on, I take time to make lovely smoothies with greens in, and, you know, I really nourish. And I think that's something I've seen in what I'm doing outwardly in the world, is it has to begin with looking after myself first. I can't offer anything to the world around me if I'm not looking after myself first. So that's been a real gift of lockdown, is I've had this opportunity to really dive deep into self-care, and what does self-care look like for me? What do I want to prioritize in my day? And connection with nature, like you all said, is a really big part of that. So I have this amazing connection with nature. To me, she's an entity, she's a being that I go and talk to every day. And I offer my prayers into the sea every morning, and it feels like an amazing opportunity to be able to do that. And then quite often in the afternoon, I'll go for a little walk at sunset and just go and talk to the trees as I walk around. And I feel, in a way, it was interesting what you said as well about, you know, community. What is community? I feel like nature is my community, and the seagulls outside my window that I offer something to every day, even if it's just a bit of chopped apple, they're my community, as well as the human sort. So I definitely feel like nature is part of my community consideration. So yeah, I think that's the main thing for me, is bedding into self-care as a primary thing, and slowing down and really taking the gift of this time to slow down and look after myself, which is an ongoing challenge, or not ongoing challenge, ongoing inquiry to learn what that is, and what it looks like, and how to do it, how to keep improving that.
Yeah, I'd love to add a little piece just briefly on the end of that, of also my journey of refining my self-care often has been when I haven't self-cared, and then got the contrast. So even this morning, I took a phone call in my self-care time, which wasn't in alignment with my practice. I was actually giving a lot more in the conversation, and which I was really happy to be there, but it could have been later. I could have been with my own process first, really get myself good and cared for, and then had that conversation. So yeah, it was an opportunity for contrast to show me like, okay, yeah, no, that's how I want to do this better. So yeah, I'm always refining. I'm always learning.
Yeah, and there's no getting, you know, sometimes we might not do it as well as we'd like, and it's just something to always come back to, isn't it? I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I think people who are living alone, who are particularly those people who are maybe very kinesthetical, very tactile, it's quite a tough time for people like that, because they've been told to isolate. I know they can be in a bubble, but it's not quite the same as how they've perhaps been before. And I've been reminding people to, to spend time, if they have a bath or a shower, to massage every tiny part of their body and really love themselves, and spend time with the physicality of giving to themselves, because a lot of people look to others to have that sense of tactile feedback, and we can have feedback with ourselves really well. Equally, you were talking about emotional expression. I think that music is incredible. It's so wide, and to put different types of music on and allow, the rage that might be there to be expressed with the fierceness of your body movements, as well as the surrender to tears, is actually really healthy. Otherwise, we sort of bank up with emotions that we're trying to suppress, and then the body can't function, and nothing can function, because we're interconnected. The whole system is interconnected. So I think there's lots of aspects, aren't there, challenges to this time for a lot of people.
That was one thing I forgot to mention, was that I also have a space for dancing in the afternoon. So I think that's something we've all got in common, is to just move and let, like you're saying, when you're on Zoom sitting a lot, I think it's really important to have some movement in your day. And
definitely.
Sorry, go on, Nick.
Dancing is great, and ABBA's great too. I think the four of us together, we'd make a fantastic ABBA, actually. So we... Yeah, just something to add, and particularly again for people who are isolated. I'm also a Reiki practitioner, and with a couple of friends, I've offered distance Reiki. That's another way of connecting and energy work and stuff like that, where you don't need physical presence, but actually it's really healing and connecting. And even if you don't believe in distance Reiki, try it anyway. Find a Reiki practitioner and allow yourself to just surrender to some healing at a distance, and it really does. It really
so just to mention, sorry, were you finished, Nick? Sorry, go on. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Or just reminded me to mention that on the event details is links for all of us that are on this call, if you'd like to find out a bit more information about the work that we're offering. So Nick has his website on there, so does Julia, and so does Amy, and so do I. So if anyone wants to find out a bit more about what we're doing as we're talking about this, then if you go onto the event details, there is a list at the bottom there of our website and information.
Just to say, my website's very vanilla.
Very vanilla.
Some of the things I do are not necessarily on that website. I've got a second one in process, but it's not really there yet. But definitely contact details are there for things like Reiki and stuff like that.
And if anyone can't find it and they want to just send me a message, I can make a link as well, if that's helpful. Sorry, go on, Julia.
Well, I just forgot to say something quite important to me, which I didn't mention at all, which is creativity. I think creative expression, particularly when we're blocked in other ways, we can express in all sorts of ways. You don't have to be artistic. It could be cooking, it could be creating something for the home, it could be doing something in the garden. And I think that when we are able to create from that inner aspect of ourselves, we can again express something, but also feel the joy of being alive, because, you know, we are these amazing alive beings with lots to express and create. And I think that actually gives you a real boost when you do any type of creative thing. Even making chocolates, that's what I've been making recently, and I've just been loving making them by hand. It's just been so rewarding. So whatever those things are.
Just to share something that quite amazing that happened up my street. I mean, I live in South London, where people usually avoid eye contact because otherwise you might sort of end up in a ditch or something. But it's just been an amazing experience where up my street, probably about 120 houses, I think, there's been a sense of community that's just been created. I didn't know anybody in my street, and I've lived here for 10 years. And somebody went around and dropped some notes through each door and set up a WhatsApp group, primarily to support people who maybe need shopping or stuff like that. And it's blossomed into this amazing community. And one of the things that we do every week is that somebody suggests a theme for creativity. And so people post on the WhatsApp group. It might be a portrait they've drawn, or a poem they've written, or their favorite jumper, or a cake they've made, or something like that. And we have, you know, all these amazing sharings happening, and it's not competitive in any way. It's just about sharing stuff and being creative together in community. It's just been amazing, actually, heartwarming.
Right, that's
Really
so lovely. Yeah, I've seen lots of things popping up like that, and it's just amazing. Yeah, great. That's great. That was something that was on my mind I was going to say, but I've forgotten it now.
Can I say the thing on my mind?
Go on, go for it. Yeah, because it's gone. Whatever I was going to say, it's gone.
It was just adding on to the creativity piece. And yeah, yesterday after my big emotional release on the beach, the thing that I said straight away is I just want to do things that make me feel alive. I want to do things that, make me feel alive. I want to get into the cold water. I want to paint. And I have been doing those things as well. And yeah, that's my practice. Just do things that make me feel alive as much as possible.
Lots of commonalities between what we're saying, isn't there? Yeah, of what's working. and I think we're all well in that, you know. That's what I'm really sensing, is like there's a wellness in that. Yeah. I mean, one thing I just wanted to speak to was that a couple of people have touched on, is people that are really isolated. And I am someone who's gone from a very busy life, busy work life, busy home life, and I was, you know, caring for someone as well, to suddenly being on my own in lockdown. And I'm someone who needs contact. I mean, through my own therapeutic journey, contact has been really important. If I couldn't process something or let something come up, I'd need a hug and then it could come up. So I've needed physical contact, and I really, really struggled with that element. And I had a really great friend who was helping me with that. And I was like, what do I do? And it was a really great gateway to connect with nature with that, it's like I just needed a relationship. And I took more time to actually go and rest my heart on a tree and feel my breath breathe with a tree. I was like, oh, okay, there's a being here. It's like I just needed to feel another being against my skin. And you know, I know not everybody is next to a park or near a park, and I know that's a real challenge, but you know, a plant, if you have a plant in your house, or I think it's being creative, isn't it? It's being open to finding new ways of doing. I'd always done it a certain way, and I suddenly couldn't do that, and so I've had to be creative and think about other ways to feel connection. And I think as long as you're intent on trying to find something else or exploring other ways to meet your needs, then I think something does come, is my experience of it. So yeah, thought I'd add that. Cool. So I just wanted to check in, Amy, is there any questions or anything, or any comments at this point?
There isn't.
There isn't? Okay.
No.
I don't think it's working properly then. That's my feeling, because normally
there's 2 or 3 people watching. I think it's Jackie and me watching.
Right, okay.
But then people will get to see the live, or they can watch it later, you know.
Yeah, well, I'm recording it here, so I'll just post it. I'll post it later. But yeah, it's a shame that that's not working. Why I'm thinking I might, yeah, anyway, I won't get into what I'm thinking. I think I'll do it differently next week though. But anyway, I won't get into that now. Okay, so next question. What is community resilience and what does it mean to you?
For me, I mentioned the thing about the street, my street. I've found community with people I'm facilitating groups with. I found other kind of communities, online communities that set up, and also the yoga community. But I think the key thing for me is that despite our differences, we're together. And I think the street is a really good indication of that. They're people I wouldn't normally necessarily hang out with, make friends with, resonate with necessarily, but actually there's a lot of amazing stuff in everybody, and I think it really has brought that to light in a really positive way, that that we've all got something to share and something to give, and so we can find community in all sorts of ways. We don't have to, I think right now at the moment, I don't think we have to seek out our tribe. I think we need to look for human community as much as anything.
Well, like I said before, I live rural, so in terms of physical community with people, it's not so apparent. But in the first lockdown, immediately I felt like I'm not self-sufficient. I don't know anything about my connection to the land or anything. So I started growing vegetables, and it was just really rewarding. And also we bought some hens, and we've been having eggs since then with our 4 hens, and really enjoying the building up of that connection with our hens. They're such beautiful creatures, and I never knew that until I had them myself. I've never had hens before, and also noticing everything around. And I feel, for me, I would look in the future to be in a place where you could be more sustainable, and that you would be sharing, growing together, and where your water supply is, and all these things a bit more localized. I feel like I don't want to be part of world food and things like that as much anymore. I want to find what's local and help each other to create things which can be sustainable in our climate as well. So that's a forward-thinking thing for me, rather than a thing I can do right now, but I've already planted seeds by learning a bit about it for myself.
Sounds like you've got a bird in the background. Have you got a bird?
Yeah, we have got a bird, yes.
I love that when you're answering the question on what's your community, you've got a bird going, I'm here.
And cats and hens, yeah, the birds outside. And the deer, there's so much around. It's beautiful to be held by nature, but not so much people. That's more, remote.
Great. Amy?
Yeah, I've been very blessed. Just in you asking this question, I'm reflecting on the different communities that I'm part of, and I'm part of a coaching community. I'm part of a few Facebook groups that have amazing sense of community. Yes, and I'm even noticing there's a part of me that wants to come off Facebook for many reasons, but particularly, what would stop me is the fact that there is so much community, and the opportunity to learn and to connect and to share, and depending on the community. I mean, I'm in authentic relating groups and art groups, creativity groups, and yeah, they bring so much inspiration. I started a local women's group, and my partner started a local men's group, and that has been, I've had a break over the Christmas time, but that was really wonderful. And I've also really experienced the value in going to other people's stuff as well, which was lovely, because I for a long time I didn't do that so often. It was always me putting on stuff and wanting to lead, and then actually it's like, I just want to be led and held and get to experience other people's great work that they're doing. There's so much out there. It is abundant.
I was just wondering, your women's group, is that something you did online, or you did it?
Yes. Yeah, it is the Authentic Women New Forest Sisterhood. It's adapting, it's growing into something else now. But yeah, it was very touching to bring people together in that way. And we would share, and I would we play games that are about building connection and more deeply connecting with ourselves in our personal narrative and our blocks and that kind of thing. It was good. It is good. It's good fun.
Yeah, I mean, I had a really interesting experience of community resilience, because the moment when lockdown was first announced in March, I just literally a few days before that took full-time care of someone very close to me. And we suddenly had, I mean, we weren't adapted to it at that point. It was very new. We're much more adapted to it now. And we suddenly had no carers, no support, basically, like nothing at all, with someone who was who was terminally ill. And I, with my partner at the time, had the full-time care of this person. And I was just like, oh, what do I do? And so I reached out to my community. So there was I'm in Torbay, and there was a group that formed on Facebook called Torbay Help Hub. And my friend said, why don't you put a post in there? The group's been started for everyone to sort of rally and help each other. So I did, and wow, what happened was just remarkable. I could cry just saying it. It was just amazing, and people that came and helped us, I'm still friends with now. They, so one guy came and brought us food every day, cooked a meal for her and brought food to her every day. Another lady in the street I got to know, she came and did our washing. She came and collected her washing and did our washing every day. People came and just visited and brought gifts and like got shopping for us. And it was just incredible. It was just incredible. And I thought, wow, it just goes to show what happens, when the shit really hits the fan, like how people show up for each other. I was just so amazed by it. And somehow, like a lot of people who are on their own and either unwell or disabled, they get kind of 3 visits a day from carers, which is a really, I think, completely inhumane situation for most people. If you're on your own and you're disabled and bedbound, getting a total of like an hour and a half, 2 hours of someone being there a day is just like, I just think it's really inadequate. And it just showed us what's possible when we sort of pull together and look after each other, that suddenly this person who had been on their own in that circumstance was being loved and cared for by this community, by everyone just doing a little bit, everyone just bringing a little bit of something to that pot. But the collection of what she was receiving in that was just amazing. It was like 24/7 care, just by everyone doing a little something. So it was a really striking experience. And like I think Nick said, so from that moment, I got to know the people I live with in my street, and who I didn't know before, people that just sort of, rallied and got to know. And the lady who was doing the shopping, she's now my sea swimming companion in the morning. And and I've been looking at like what we can do locally to sort of trade what we need. So like I don't have a washing machine, so someone does my washing and then I do something for them. And how we can kind of localize our needs, even if it's in small ways, even if it's little gestures. I feel like there's so much further we could go with that. And growing food is one thing I would really love to be doing. I felt very drawn to doing that and felt frustrated I couldn't start growing food. But yeah, any little movement I feel towards relocalizing our resources, I think is a positive thing. So that's something I've been looking at particularly.
Yeah, because I think this time has made us really rely on the local, and because of the World Wide Web and this, the news is piped from everywhere, we get this sense of being part of something much bigger. But the reality is that the surrounding area, your own orbit, is really what you are going to experience. There was Schumacher, who you might know, wrote a book called Small is Beautiful. And a long time ago, he realized that when it gets too big and too fractured and not personal, it loses something. And I think we're regaining something that we've sort of lost a little bit because of the internet and all the things that we're able to do. We come back to the individual areas again, and to really appreciate what's there and know what's there, find out what's there,
Okay, move on to the next question. that all right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that one we kind of covered. What is resilience looking like in your work at the moment? So in terms of, I mean, everyone I've reached out to are your people that are supporting other people, and you're running events and things like that. So I know, Nick, you mentioned, I love that you've got a standing desk, by the way, Nick. Okay. Now I know you're standing. I'm really paying attention.
I stand on, but every time I move around, it sort of slips a bit. So I was just...
Right, okay. You'll start going up and down. Yeah, so what are you seeing is useful in your work? You know, what are you seeing is helpful? And, you know, I can imagine that people are going all over the place with what's going on, and I'm definitely seeing that. You know, it can be anything from really extreme fear and wanting to kind of shut down from the world to really being in high need. And I'm just wondering what you're seeing is working and being useful in your work. Floor is open.
Okay, can I say it's about being really authentic, and you know, I do a lot of training. I do a lot of kind of training in the kind of corporate world. I teach in universities, and I coach, as well as other things I do. But you know, rather than be there as the sort of the expert or the person who's like overseeing everything, just be really authentic and really own what's going on for you. And you know, by that you can really build trust. And I think trust is the bedrock of really great relationships, great working relationships. And I think, you know, let's look at what we need in order to build trust. You know, that it's not anything other than just being human and authentic and emotionally intelligent. And I think if we have that, that's a really good way to, just a really good way to be in the work that we do with others.
Yeah, I mean, you've touched on something that I've definitely noticed in my work is, as being a group facilitator for, I don't know, about 15 years now, I think, I've always felt like I was in a different position to the people I was facilitating the space for. And suddenly something shifted in that it's like, we're just in this together. You know, I might create the space and I might be holding something within that, but actually I'm just a human being in this, like we all are, you know, we're all in this kind of real unknown together. I'm not in a position of knowing any more about what's going on than anyone else. And so, yeah, that just reminded me of that as you said that, Nick. It's just like, yeah, there's something that's changed for me around that, around we're just in this together. There is a real feeling of that in my work. Yeah.
Yeah, I would third that as well. Thirdly, that. Yeah, I think there's a humbling that has occurred for me during this time. I think a real desire to be so authentic and so honest with how this affects me, how it's, yeah, I think that's so important, to be honest. And I think if anyone's swanning about saying, oh, I'm fine, you know, I'm really great, you know, I'm sure there's elements where I am like that and I feel really, really good. And I would never masquerade like that's, you know, I think we all have hardship on some level from this experience. And that's humbling for me. I'm sure it's humbling for many people. And really highlighting all the areas where I'm grateful, and I feel like I'm much more able to show up in my work, and have been showing up even more, and getting clarity really on how I want to show up.
Yeah, and being creative, that's something I've definitely, I feel like as things are changing, it's like, okay, I need to think of something else, another way to do that, or another way to, I mean, I feel like Dance Connections, Julia, from what I understand, has been like a real creative response, adapting to the times from what I've heard.
Yeah, I mean, for me, before the lockdown, I was actually teaching in Bowdowns, where I had everybody signed up ready to do a whole new training of 3 years. And when it stopped and I realised I wouldn't be able to do that for quite a long time, I just put it aside and thought, well, what would it feel like to put it down? And I realised I wanted to do something different. I wanted to do something that was more about self-connection and exploring being embodied and physical movement. And also, like you're all saying, owning all parts of being a human being, and that includes being able to be vulnerable and, you know, to own anger and all the emotions that are there and be able to move it through. And my resilience has come from actually doing that practice, to be able to, my daughter went into hospital with mental health issues earlier in the lockdown, and as a mother, it's very painful, but I could still function really well and actually have a happy time at times, because I was able to be with the grief, express it, and then move out again. And we have naturally, as human beings, we've got this inner percolation of life energy that if it's not blocked and stopped, I believe it's perpetual. And you can come back like a child does, you know, they get really upset. They might have a sort of a tantrum, or they cry, and then they're laughing again. And I think even as adults, we have that capacity if we don't block ourselves. So that's resilience for me. Let it go through, be it all, and we're all in it together, as you've all said.
Yeah, great. Thank you. I mean, there's something that keeps coming back to my mind. It's not exactly linked to what you just said, but it just keeps coming back to my mind. So maybe there's a reason for it. Is something that was mentioned at the beginning, or has been mentioned at different points, is the privilege that we're all in, the four of us. And, you know, I wonder, as we're kind of offering this to the wider community about resilience for those that aren't in such fortunate situations, whatever that is, whether that's being on your own, whether that's financial restrictions, whether that's, you know, being in a minority group, being in a country where you don't speak the language, you know, all of those different reasons. You know, we're all white people, so we are inherently privileged because of that. And yeah, I'm just wondering, you know, what we might be able to or not, you know, speak to around that, around community resilience if you're in a less privileged situation.
It changes though, doesn't it? You know, because when I was a single parent and I had very little money, I was always having to check my list and cross things off and decide what I had to choose, you know, and I'd make things from scratch. And I am in a very, very privileged position now. But for many years I lived with very little money, but I found quality of life by walking in nature and all the things you've all talked about. And I know what you're saying, there are things which are more extreme than that. But I do think that human spirit is resilient, you know, whatever colour, creed, background we've got. If you can inspire the spirit within a person, you can help them and you can join together and you can understand each other and you can reach out.
Yeah, that's sorry, go on, Nick. Go on.
Go on. Sorry, interrupt.
I was just say that was my first, as I asked the question, my first response that came up is, I have this body, whatever the circumstance, I have this body, you know, I have this, you know, and that is true for any of us. And for me, I have faith, you know, I have faith in something bigger than myself, and that's massive, you know. So that doesn't necessarily, you know, that's not necessarily affected by those things. So yeah, go on, Nick.
Yeah, I was going to say, I also feel privileged. I think one of the things is that's given me a real privilege over the last year is that as a coach and somebody who works a lot one-to-one with people online, ranging from students right through to sort of professionals and through to all sorts of other people, is that people talk to me, and I'm able to hear people's stories, and that for me has been so empowering and a real blessing, to be able just to listen and just to be there and present for people to talk. But actually, we can all do it. We can all listen, and I think that's something that you know, despite, you know, never mind what you do, you know, what your role is or anything like that. Just take the time to listen, and it's incredibly enriching. The more we listen, the more we can understand, I think, and that is the privilege for me. That's the privilege. If I could recommend an amazing book that was written, I think came out this year, it's called You're Not Listening by Kate Murphy. I think it's either Murphy or Murray.
Heard of that? Yeah,
I can't see it. You're Not Listening, it's called, and it's really about the skill of listening, which we could all, it's the first thing any of us could do, because we used to listen in the womb. First thing we learn how to do, and yet most of us aren't very good at it. And I think, you know, if you can just learn and develop one thing during this period, it's the ability to listen. And even if you're isolated, find opportunities to listen. One of the things I did in the first lockdown is I signed up to I just saw it like mentioned in an article, and I thought, wow, that sounds good. And I signed up for this thing called Quarantine Chat, where you just put your phone number in, and at random times during the day, the phone rings and you're connected with somebody in the world and just chat. It's amazing.
Oh, that's really cool.
And I've spoken to people from Australia, from India, from Germany, from the States, stuff like that. It is just amazing. Quarantine Chat.
That's still going on.
Yeah. I get calls every day. I don't always take them. You don't have to take the call, but if you take it, you're going to get connected with somebody.
How do you sign up to that, Nick?
Just go on their website, Quarantine Chat, and just put your phone number in.
Quarantine Chat. Let me just see if I can find it to share that with people.
They connect you, and then the phone rings to you and the other person.
Yeah, the phone rings, and you answer it, and you go into sort of a waiting room or something, and then 10 or 20 seconds later, you get connected with somebody. That's the one. Yep.
I'm signing up right now.
Right. Yeah, that's great. That's a really great resource. So Thanks for sharing that. So yeah, quarantinechat.com, I think, is their website, but there's an app by the looks of it. Do you do it through an app? Or? You
don't really need the app, no. You just put your phone number in on the website. I guess you can use the app, and then just wait, and then at random times you'll get a phone call.
Great. So for people that are on their own and not speaking to people on a daily basis, that could be a real lifeline, couldn't it?
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. Sometimes the phone calls, 3 minutes and that's it. Sometimes you're on the phone for an hour and chatting away, and you share details and connect with each other. It's just amazing. And
I think that's great. Yeah.
Well, and of course the beauty of it is that they're all people who want to talk. So it's a really open place to connect with people, and it's completely risk-free.
That's amazing. That's Can I ask, have you then shared your email or other details with people and stayed in touch?
With some people we've connected up on social media afterwards, and swapped messages sometimes. Other people it's just thanks, that was a great chat, bye. And at the end, I think there's a thing where maybe I am on the app, because at the end you can just put a thing saying, I would like to speak to this person again, or I wouldn't like to speak to this person again, or I might like to speak to this person again. So there is that option as well.
That's magic. I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
You can even choose your language. So if you want to practice your French or Spanish or something, you can even do that.
That's great.
Some people have been, not native speakers of English who just wanted to practice their English, and others. I had somebody who lived just around the corner from me. It's just amazing, the variety.
Great. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. So we've got about 20 minutes left. I just want to sort of prioritize what feels important. I mean, one thing that we kind of touched on, and I just wanted to just ask the question, it's not one of the questions I prepared, but about dealing with the wider world, because I know we've sort of mentioned about the news and what's going on, and I know for me personally, I touch into that very, very little, and when I have touched into it, it just takes me out of my own truth quite quickly, and I felt drawn to my authentic response to it is that I just have to come into my immediate life. I just have to really connect with this body, primarily my space, the environment around me, the community around me, and just that's what's true for me. That's what's real for me is my immediate life, and that's how I've responded to it. I'm not sure in myself whether that's right. I don't know if I haven't connected really particularly with what's happened in America, for example, or what's happening in the rest of the world, and I'm not sure. I haven't sort of landed on a decision around whether my response is a healthy one completely or not. Am I shutting something out that I should be looking at or not? I don't know. So this is just something that's in my mind just as we're talking about, there are these things that are going on around us that are very, very fear-inducing, and a lot of people are watching those things. Just wondering what your response is to that. I'm just curious.
Well, I feel that you're making your choice, but if you're staying calm and positive and able to support whoever you're connecting with, that seems to me a really good decision. And when things make you move into fear in a really strong way or feel overwhelming, then we can't actually do any of those things.
Exactly.
And I do think it's obviously a personal choice, but I'm exactly the same. I don't actually specifically look for anything that's on the news, but I do hear bits through friends or through the radio or whatever those things are. And then I think, well, that's come into my orbit for me to sort of be aware of, and what do I do with that? But I think we have to choose what is life affirming, because right now we're under lots of pressures, and I don't think we should choose to put ourselves under more pressure with things we can't control. That's my feeling on it.
Yeah.
I think it's difficult. Oh, sorry, go on, Amy.
Oh, I was just going to say that's reminded me again of the full serenity prayer, which I was reminded of earlier when Nick was speaking right at the beginning, to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference forever and ever in the next. I don't think that last bit is part of that.
No, not necessarily, no, but
it looks like it's supposed to be. But anyway, yeah, that's something that really rings true for me.
Discernment, I guess, is the word there, isn't it? It's discernment.
What?
It's discernment.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Discernment is,
because we live in a world that's like, well, someone recently called it the post-truth era, which really resonated for me. We do live in a post-truth era. You know, there's so much fake news, and I mean, there's just so many things I've come across. I'm like, it's just like madness upon madness upon madness. And what do you do with that? I think for me, I just come into my immediate life, come into what's real for me. You know, I don't know what's true out of any of that, but I know this is true. This body is true. This breath is true. You know, that's what I know is real.
There's a really nice kind of mantra that comes from Usui, who was the kind of founder of Reiki, and it's just a nice daily mantra just to acknowledge or read for yourself or read out loud or something. And it's really simple. It's just for today. I will not worry. I will not be angry. I will do my work honestly. I'll be grateful for my many blessings, and I'll be kind to all living things. It's a lovely way to think, isn't it?
Yeah. And there's something I'm feeling in the responses that you've offered, which is just, it's simplicity is the word. It's like something about just keeping it really simple, whatever that is, you know, for each of us. But yeah, and that's really what I definitely feel drawn to, is keeping it really simple, really, really simple. So great. Yeah. Thanks for responding to that. So the last question I had written down was, what do you see as the real challenges that we're facing in these times? And let's make it really current right this minute. What do you see the real challenges we're facing, and what do you feel drawn to prioritizing as a response? So I'll go, if that's all right, because that's something that feels quite strong for me as I ask that question, which is food. So I've definitely noticed since, I mean, when the first lockdown happened, I had this real bodily instinct to grow food. I'm just like, okay, we're not doing anything, we should be growing food. And I was looking at little spaces around where I live to start doing guerrilla growing, and contacted the local council, they wouldn't let us do it. And I was like, oh, I just really felt a response to grow food. And I think that was right. I think there was something really true in that. And I've noticed since we came out of the EU, I don't know if it's connected with that or not. I'm not clear on the details, but every time I've been to a supermarket, it's at least a third empty. At least a third is suddenly empty. And I feel like food shortages is on the horizon. And I don't really know how to respond to that. But it's something that I'm feeling is a priority. It's something that I'm aware of is a possibility, that real food shortages, can't say those two words together for some reason, are a reality that could come. And what can I be doing now to respond to that? So that's something I'm feeling it feels like a priority. I mean, obviously food sources and, you know, those real priority things, roof over our head, food to eat, water, you know, there are absolute essentials. And I really feel like our food is at risk. You know, it currently comes from all over the world. I've been looking recently at, like, you know, I buy blueberries and raspberries and things like, where's it come from? It's Egypt and Peru, and like, it's bonkers. You know, our food comes from all around the world. And with all of this going on and the impact it's having everywhere, surely it's gonna come into effect at some point in real food shortage. And so I just think, what can I do to be proactive in that? Not just like storing up tins for myself. I don't think that's the answer. You know, growing food, I think, as you're doing, Julia, if I could, I would absolutely be outgrowing food. But for me, it's about space, unfortunately. So that's something I'm feeling.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, I've been using bins to grow potatoes, you know, just big bins with holes, you know, drilled into them. And
great.
Yeah, just all sorts of things you can do. And the radishes were so abundant that I actually pickled them. And, you know, there's all these sort of things. I'm learning, it's new for me. But I think you're right. I think not necessarily because of the EU, but I think climatically, the problem now is that places that used to produce a lot of food because they had stable weather climate, they don't anymore. So Italy, for instance, with the olives, you know, olives, a lot of them came from Italy. Well, those places now don't have stable sunshine, and the crops are getting destroyed through the erratic weather conditions. And one of the things that I was reading about food is that if you have it more localized, you can respond in a more responsive way, like putting fabric over to stop from frosts if they come out of the ordinary, say in May, you know, you can respond to it. Whereas when they're done in a really big sort of farming way, not only is it difficult to respond, but as we know, it's eroding the quality of the soil. So I'm actually feeling like a new interest in, I've always bought organically when I can afford to, and I've just got more interest in actually trying to do it myself, really, because I think we all need to, if we can, help with that, because I think we will need to, because of climate change, I actually think.
Yeah, I think climate change and COVID, for sure, it just feels like in a wise space we should be thinking about our food supply. Yeah.
I think a challenge, I mean, we've talked, I guess, talking about resilience, it's about, you know, looking at and, you know, taking care of our mental health, but I think also our physical health is really important. And for me, that's I think a big challenge that probably we all need to face up to and be really proactive about, is about really understanding and managing our physical health. So that means, first of all, understanding our bodies, understanding what our bodies do, you know, educating ourselves and feeling our bodies and really recognizing what our bodies need. And that is obviously connected to food, it's connected to exercise, it's connected to all the ways that we live. But I think proactively managing our physical health is really important. I mean, I've done that. I had a little bit of a wake-up call last year. I've spent the last 6 months, you know, trying to lose a lot of weight and really get myself fitter, as fit as I can. And I feel a huge amount better for it. It's brilliant. And I think, you know, the more that we take responsibility for our, you know, everyone's waiting for this vaccine, not everyone, a lot of people are waiting for this vaccine at the moment. But, you know, there's a lot we can also do to manage our own physical health, to build up our own immunity through diet and exercise and stuff like this. And I think this is a challenge of education, self-education really, and taking that accountability for ourselves, because let's face it, as a society, a few years ago I went to Oslo and I visited the Nobel Museum in Oslo, and there's an exhibition of photos, and it's just a photograph from probably 30 or 40 different countries around the world about a typical family's diet. And I've never been more embarrassed to be British because the British family had pizzas and cakes and biscuits and all this crap basically. Whereas lots of other communities, probably, you know, especially in third world communities, had a much richer and more cleaner and healthier diet. And I think all of us need to, and I start with myself, need to really pay attention to ourselves and how we take care of ourselves physically.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and I wonder, is it sustainable at the moment to that's my, I mean, I start my day with this wonderful smoothie with, you know, greens and algae and blueberries from Peru, and, you know, I'm just wondering, like, is that going to be sustainable for us to get those things as we're coming? And yeah, I agree, and I have this question whether we're going to be able to look after ourselves in the same way with food as things change. I don't know. Go on, Amy. Sorry, it looked like you were going to say something.
No, that's cool. I'm just, when I'm looking away, I'm just like writing all the time, like notes from
Okay, that's cool.
everything that you're all saying. It's really inspiring. And I really wish I could get on the growing food. I'm sure I could look into it more. I wrote down allotments. I wonder if there's allotments around here. I would love that, and it's very important. Very important. And I think with Brexit as well, that's going to be hugely affecting our food. So there's like 3 pretty big reasons as to why our food's going to be affected, or is already. And as you were speaking there, Nick, about moving our body and exercise and building our immunity, our immune system through movement. And I think because of my nature, I just think, okay, well, how can I not only do something that's accountable for me, but also that can inspire other people and maybe get them moving with me. So then I was thinking, what if I did a Facebook Live every morning via Zoom, so I can play the music through Zoom, and I just dance, and I'm just dancing, and I'm just, there's a morning dance where people can join in, and I can't see them, but just as a way, and even if they don't dance right then and there, it might be later on in the day they think, do you know what, I'm just going to dance. I think that could be really fun. I was first thinking hula hooping, because that's my main profession, not so much anymore due to COVID. But yeah, there's things, it's sparking more ideas for me to keep myself regulated and continue inspiring others. It's so important.
Well, I just wanted I've thought at the end we could just maybe just have a couple of minutes each just to say a little bit about, if you all want to speak for yourselves around your work and what you're doing, and just share a bit of some information. If you want to share, I mean, obviously I can share the your websites with people, but if you just want to say, just take a couple of minutes each just to say what you're doing and what you're offering in the world, in case that's been something I feel people want to connect with. So yeah,
I'll go first if that's okay. So I'm running programs. I run group programs in growing confidence, learning about boundaries, personal sovereignty, connection, authentic communication, playfulness is a big part of it, connecting to our inner child, healing, learning about reparenting and navigating our internal guidance system as well. And something I'm really excited about is that I'm going to launch a podcast very, very soon, which I think I've come up with the name as well, which is very exciting, which shall I share here? Is that, maybe it's too soon? I don't know if it's too soon. No, I'm going to sit with it. I'm going to sit with the name. And a big part of my passion actually at the moment is there's quite a big movement growing, and it's called anti-MLM. So if you think of all the multi-level marketing companies, and it's the movement that's basically putting the light on them of how predatory they are and manipulative they are, and how they prey on the vulnerable and all of this kind of stuff. And I'm fascinated by it. I am fascinated. And so part of my work and podcast is talking to people about their stories. And part of my work is I want to work with people that have been involved in MLMs and support, because it, on many levels, perhaps some people get a lot from it, and then on the majority of levels, people are actually experiencing emotional abuse and control and manipulation. And I'm blown away by it. Don't know how you feel about all of that, but I'm interested by it. So ties in nicely.
Dismantling all this stuff we've been doing into like local and simple and connected, I feel like it's definitely part of that. So great, thank you. And your website is AmyAMORA.com. It is being
made right now, so there's just a landing page basically, but in the coming weeks it's going to be tip top. And yeah, I can have coaching sessions and join programs, and yeah, or just reach out.
Oh, you've gone quiet there.
Have I?
Oh no, not now.
Now.
Oh, okay. Might be internet. Go on, do you want to say, Nick, about your website, what you're doing?
Sure. Well, I mean, I have various different hats on. My main activity really is as a facilitator and coach, which I do with a range of organisations and universities. So I coach and teach in universities, and I facilitate mostly around personal development, leadership, stuff like that, with a whole range of organisations. But I have other hats as well. So I'm also a tantra practitioner and run workshops in tantra and sexuality, which I've not done this year, and I'm probably not going to do. I've not done last year, probably not going to do this year because of current situation. I haven't thought of a way of evolving this into an online offer. So that's kind of on pause at the moment. But I'm also, as I mentioned earlier on, a Reiki practitioner. I'm very happy to do distance Reiki treatments and healings, which I mostly do with friends at the moment. But coaching, I guess, is my main thing. Yeah, I've got a website. It's nickjerome.co.uk. Like I said before, it's vanilla, but all contact details are there. Just one little thing to add. I did my master's in coaching about 4 years ago, and at Warwick University, and I did my dissertation around tantric coaching, which was a bit left field really for a sort of a coaching master's. But what I tried to do is bring those two parts of my life together and try to integrate them and develop some sort of tools and sort of modalities around coaching, which encompasses all of us, not just up here in the head, but physically and you know, sexuality and all sorts of things that are brought into it. And I think it's really a rich way of looking at working with people. So I try to do that a lot.
Julia?
Well, the main work I'm offering at the moment is in relationship to dance connection. So before the lockdown, I was teaching locally in Dorset near Bridport, and I could teach in those surrounding areas, distance classes of dance connection. I'm teaching Zoom. I also do couples Zooms fortnightly, so that people who are in a couple at home, they can you know, sort of have a deeper connection with their partner through dancing together and exploring different ways of moving. And I'm also doing weekends once the lockdown's over to let people be on a deeper dance journey. And then if they want to do the dance connection training, to actually offer it. So that's quite a beginning new thing, but I'm very happy with that's already started and people are already doing that journey. And for me, it's sort of quite holistic. So we do, in the weekends, I do reflective listening, empathic communication, circle sharing, and various other aspects. So that we can have a holistic way of being full human beings in relationship and authentic to our own needs, but have some tools for that. Some people just don't have any tools. So we're developing those alongside the movement and embodiment aspect. And I'm really into nutrition, so I'm also looking at the nutritional side at the weekends as well, because I think if we're really feeding ourselves what we need in terms of that, as well as the physical and the connection, it's so abundant. You don't really need a lot of the other things which will help generally the climate, which I'm underlyingly, I'm really caring about all the creatures in the world at large. We're interdependent, we're part of an ecosystem, we're not humans in a solitary way, and I want that to be part of the dance work I'm offering.
And what's your website?
Oh, my personal website is joysofdance.co.uk, and then there's also a danceconnectionuk.com website where the other team members are there, and as the community grows, more people will be on there, because I want it to be non-hierarchical. I'm trying to set it up so that everybody's at the same level, if you see what I mean, as we go along.
And I realised some way into the call that I didn't actually introduce myself at the beginning, apart from my name. So a big chance for me to say what I do. So I've got two things that I kind of operate from. One is Devon Therapy Hub, which is my psychotherapy work. So I'm a mindfulness-based psychotherapist in the last year of completing my master's. 4-year masters. So I have a private clinic where I see clients for that, and mainly online at the moment. And I also run therapeutic support services, which the work in the therapeutic support services is like constantly evolving at the moment, very much looking at what I can do and respond to in these times. So currently I offer sessions for teenagers. I do therapeutic support sessions for teenagers. That's one of my focus points, and supporting parents as well. And I've been doing some things online. I've been doing some free mindfulness classes because I'm also a mindfulness tutor. And I'm about to start doing a keto support group for women. I don't know if, Nick, that's the diet you follow, but I do a low carb keto diet, which is very good for me. And yeah, there's some hindrances that come up with women with that diet. So I just thought I'd offer a support group for that, which I'm starting tomorrow. So I'm always evolving what I'm doing, you know. Offering this is part of my constant, like, what can I offer at this time? What's useful? And so, like, it's a constantly evolving thing. But yeah, I've got websites for both of those. So devontherapyhub.com is the one for my psychotherapy work, and therapeutic-support-services.com is the other one. So yeah, great. Thank you very much. And it's been really nice, like, as we're sort of coming to a close, I feel this like thread of connection between us, like creative, dancing, you know, really like listening to ourselves and our authenticity. And it's yeah, lovely to just feel that with 4 people that didn't know each other an hour and a half ago, and now we do. So so just shows how we can find commonality and our humanity even with people that we don't really know yet. So yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah, thank you, Catherine, for organising this, and I'm really looking forward to your. This was just the first of how many calls have you got
First
happening?
of 4, and I thought, you know, I was having a little moment today. I was like, I'm actually open to it going longer than 4, but I had such an immediate response of people that said, yeah, I'm up for it, and there was easily 4 I could do from that. But I'm open to it continuing further. I'm open to this being a sort of an ongoing thing as things evolve and change. So yes, definitely for the next 3 weeks, but maybe further. We'll see how it feels at that point. So thanks for saying yes. And
I thought it was a lovely format, and you know, all of us came with no agenda and just really open to share, and I think that was just lovely. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Catherine, and also thank you to everybody. It's really wonderful how when everyone talks at different times, you create a whole. I always have an analogy for people about being authentic, that you're a jigsaw piece, that if you stay the shape you really are, you will make this beautiful jigsaw together. Whereas if you try to get forced into a place, you don't fit, and then the jigsaw never gets finished. So I think that there's a beautiful interconnected aspect that's arisen. So thank you for facilitating that so nicely and so in a balanced way. Very beautiful.
That's lovely. I really love that analogy. Thank you. That's really lovely.
That's
Thanks,
a great analogy.
Thank you all. Go well. Take care of yourselves as you are doing. So, it's really lovely. I'll end the recording now. Okay. Thank you.